This is not a normal time. We are facing a planetary emergency. The relationship between humankind and planet Earth has been radically altered in a very short period of time. And what would make us believe that we could go through these changes and not have an impact? Our impact on the planet has been dramatically changed. We're capable of doing damage that we're not always fully aware that we're doing. The 10 hottest years ever measured in the record have been since 1990. 20 of the 21 hottest years have been in the last 25 years. The hottest year of all was 2005. The hottest year of all in the U.S. was 2006. The hottest winter ever measured worldwide was this winter, December, and then January and February of this year, last month. This is going on right now, and it's continuing to increase.
The document from the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, they've set records all over America in January, 183 cold records, 183 of them. This is a new record all over America.
Good evening, everyone. We begin with a spring chill that is extending tonight from the Northeast to Texas, threatening to put many a holiday observance on ice. After a mild early winter, it's looking like Easter could turn out to be colder in some parts than it was at Christmas. Here's NBC's Ron Allen.
Many cities haven't been this cold this time of year in 20 years, forecasters say. And before that, for some places, it's back another 100 years. It felt more like Christmas holiday weather than Easter, especially in the east, where Washington's cherry blossoms were especially white. The boys of summer threw snowballs instead of baseballs in Cleveland again today, after Friday's opening day game was snowed out.
Unfortunately, the weather is unseasonably cold to the point it may be 40 to 50 degrees below normal temperature-wise across portions of the, let's say, west central and north central Texas. The eastern two-thirds of the country well below normal.
Many things we thought we knew about the climate system just a few years ago are now proving to be highly uncertain or quite mistaken.
For whatever reason, right now, it becomes quite newsworthy to go out and tell people that we are about to have apocalyptic climate changes. And the second you make that pronouncement, it's easy to go around the world and find examples to support your viewpoint. But it would have always been easy. There would be no time in Earth history when you would not have been able to go around the world and find damaging hurricanes and tornadoes and whatever. They are not linked to the buildup of greenhouse gases.
When people say we don't believe in global warming, I say, no, I believe in global warming. I don't believe that human CO2 is causing that warming.
You can't say that CO2 will drive climate. It certainly never did in the past.
They have not established that greenhouse gases are warming the Earth.
I've often heard it said that there is a consensus of thousands of scientists on the global warming issue and that humans are causing a catastrophic change to the climate system. Well, I am one scientist, and there are many that simply think that is not true.
The IPCC is a political organisation set up by the United Nations to provide evidence to support the Framework Convention on Climate Change, which has been signed by governments. It is entirely political.
And to build the number up to 2,500, they have to start taking reviewers and government people and so on, anyone who ever came close to them. And none of them are asked to agree. Many of them disagree. That since no scientist disagrees, you shouldn't disagree either. But that, whenever you hear that in science, that's pure propaganda.
This cuts right at the heart of national sovereignty of the United States of America. We, in essence, would be saying we would allow an international body to come in and dictate to our industries, our businesses, our people, what they could do and what they couldn't do. Use of what energy, which sources of energy, the cost of energy.
This is an awakening call that we are facing a battle against those that want to destroy a great United States of America.
All these treaties are dangerous attacks on American freedoms, national security, land ownership, and private property. Every one of these treaties involves setting up a new global bureaucracy that would have some kind of obnoxious control over American citizens, or our families, or our schools, or our businesses, or our use of natural resources and energy, or our land. And together they add up to what is meant by global governance.
Yes, Senator, it's a global problem and it has to be solved with a global strategy. But this is the rare but all-important global or strategic problem. Its aspect is in the global dimension, and every nation has to be a part of the solution.
I used to agree with these dramatic warnings of climate disaster. I taught my students that most of the increase in temperature of the past century was due to human contributions of CO2. The association seemed so clear and simple. Increases of greenhouse gases were driving us towards a climate catastrophe. However, a few years ago I decided to look more closely at the science, and it astonished me. In fact, there is no evidence of humans being the cause. There is, however, overwhelming evidence of natural causes, such as changes in the output of the sun. This has completely reversed my views on the Kyoto Protocol. Actually, many other leading climate researchers also have serious concerns about the science underlying the protocol. So let's hear what you're not being told about climate change.
The major premise of the inconvenient truth is that carbon dioxide is the major greenhouse gas that drives the temperature of the Earth.
They can go back 650,000 years. Here's what the temperature has been on our Earth. Now, one thing that kind of jumps out at you is, well, let me put it this way. If my classmate from the 6th grade that talked about Africa and South America were here, he would say, did they ever fit together? Most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. But they did, of course. And the relationship is actually very complicated, but there is one relationship that is far more powerful than all the others, and it is this. When there is more carbon dioxide, the temperature gets warmer because it traps more heat from the sun inside.
The ice core data comes from ice cores drilled to a depth of nearly 12,000 feet, or 2.2 miles, at the Vostok Station in Antarctica. Like Mr. Gore, the United Nations uses this information to prove that Earth's CO2 and temperature are highly correlated. And they are right. However, a high correlation proves nothing. To give an extreme example, there is a 100% correlation that any human that breathes air will die. But that does not prove that breathing air kills people. Far from it. We would all die if we didn't breathe air. But even the correlation used by Mr. Gore and the United Nations is misleading. Notice they kept the two graphs separate. By doing so, the human eye perceives that CO2 causes temperature to rise. However, when the temperature graph is superimposed over the CO2 graph, it becomes apparent that CO2 tends to follow temperature, not precede it, strongly suggesting that the CO2 does not cause the temperature to change, but the temperature causes CO2 to change. This point was made extremely well by London, England's Channel 4 in a documentary they produced called The Great Global Warming Swindle.
Well, here we're looking at the ice core record from Vostok, and in the red we see temperature going up from early time to later time at a very key interval when we came out of a glaciation. And we see the temperature going up, and then we see the CO2 coming up. CO2 lags behind that increase. It's got an 800-year lag, so temperature is leading CO2 by 800 years.
So obviously, carbon dioxide is not the cause of that warming. In fact, we can say that the warming produced the increase in carbon dioxide.
The ice core record goes to the very heart of the problem we have here. They said, if the CO2 increases in the atmosphere as a greenhouse gas, then the temperature will go up. But the ice core record shows exactly the opposite. So the fundamental assumption, the most fundamental assumption of the whole theory of climate change due to humans is shown to be wrong.
Humans produce a small fraction in the single digits percentage-wise of the CO2 that is produced in the atmosphere.
Of the 210 billion metric tons of carbon emitted into the atmosphere each year, humans contribute only 6.3 billion tons, or about 3%. Other sources like vegetation, soils, and the ocean dwarf the amount produced by man. The importance of carbon dioxide is diminished even further by the never-mentioned fact that the overwhelming majority of all greenhouse gases is water vapor and clouds. Water vapor comprises approximately 97% of all greenhouse gases. Carbon dioxide comprises less than 2%, and the balance is made up of methane, chlorofluorocarbons, and nitrous oxide. Many proponents of man-caused global warming claim that water vapor is highly variable across the Earth and from season to season, and therefore is unimportant. Additionally, they claim that CO2 has far greater potential as a greenhouse gas than its small amount would otherwise indicate. While there is some truth in these claims, water vapor remains the dominant greenhouse gas. The effectiveness or potential of greenhouse gases is highly variable due to a host of reasons. At any one time, water vapor accounts for 36 to 70% of the total greenhouse gas effects. If clouds are included, it jumps to 66 to 86%. Carbon dioxide comes in a distant third by accounting for only 9 to 27%. And remember, man's activities accounts for less than 3% of the total carbon dioxide